My father once said to me that as long as you can wake up in the morning and go to work, then you're not an alcoholic. Well, by that definition, I've never had a drinking problem. Being self-employed, I could wake up at 10 a.m., start drinking around 3, pass out by 10, sleep it off for 12 hours, and I'd be perfectly ready to go again. However, living that lifestyle, it doesn't take long to realize that frequent and heavy drinking affects a lot more than just your ability to go to work. Alcohol may have the allure of good times, relaxation, and other positive things, but in the long run, it makes a truly good life much harder, if not impossible, to reach. It leaves you more lethargic on a daily basis, less likely to pursue larger goals. It interferes with your ability to relate to and connect with people. And for me, having the constant daily preoccupation with drinking took me out of the present moment and made a lot of my life a lot less than what it could have been. The health risk may or may not matter to you. If you're like most people, that stuff won't matter until you're actually sick. But if you're watching this video, you probably already have your own reasons for wanting to break the pattern of long-term or binge drinking. So instead of talking about that, whatever your experience is, what I want to share with you is my perspective on what it takes to stop drinking. And I don't mean to stop drinking and then feel defeated like you're missing out on something, withdrawing from a fun life or suppressing the urge to drink. If you only do that, you might stop drinking for a while, but there's going to come a time when that urge and discomfort within you surfaces again, and you'll probably revert to another cycle of over-drinking. No, what I mean is choosing to stop drinking because you get to the point that this reality, sober reality, feels better than being drunk. And it should. I mean, alcohol is a poison. That's why they call it intoxication. You only think you feel good because of the mental relief or release that comes from the mind-numbing aspect of drinking. On a physical level, every cell of your body is working to get the poison out of your system. So understanding that alcohol addiction is usually a mental phenomenon, the real key to overcoming it is to take steps to get your sober mindset into a more desirable place than where it is when you're drunk. Right now, alcohol might bring you into the present moment. It puts worries and mental stress behind you temporarily. But imagine if your sober mind were more relaxed and at peace than the intoxicated one. Alcohol would no longer provide mental benefits, and you would actually feel worse when you drank. If that were the case, you'd stop choosing it and you would stop being preoccupied with thoughts of drinking. The urges, cravings, and overall addiction would eventually dissolve, and it would get easier and easier to continue making yourself feel better in real and lasting ways without alcohol. So that's the concept. Now, getting to that point is probably going to be a little bit different for everyone, but what I want to do here is share with you what worked for me. It may not be right for you, but then again, it might be perfect. So I'm putting it out there just in case it does help anyone. Okay, so the first step of overcoming alcohol addiction for me was to make a list of all the benefits that I passively believed alcohol to be giving me, and then examine each to see if that was the reality. So this is just my personal list. I'm showing these as examples. At some point, you should write down your own list of perceptions to look at. All right. My first belief was this: alcohol helps me to relax. But the real truth is this: it's not relaxing to need a drink. To me, constantly thinking about alcohol is a distraction that interferes with everything good in life, things that can only really be experienced in the present moment, which thoughts of alcohol distract you from. Also, there are much better and more reliable ways of learning to relax than by drinking alcohol. All right, second example. My belief was alcohol helps me to be more social. The reality, to need a drink before interacting is really a social distraction. Also, even though we all have some special memories, some bonding that occurred while drinking in our younger days, the truth is that it's more difficult to really make social connections with people once you're intoxicated. Alcohol distorts emotions and communication ability. Drunk people are often perceived as being less reliable and emotionally stable as friends. Alcoholics almost always have self-esteem problems, and taking care of your own self-esteem is an important part of lasting social connection with others. Long story short, while alcohol may have been an experimental stepping stone and even a bonding new experience when you were young, It's no longer anything special. And full consciousness is the only mindset in which real social connection can take place. Okay, next belief. Alcohol gives me confidence. The truth? That's not really confidence. We've all seen the false sense of confidence that's projected by a drunk person. It really appears more like arrogance or foolishness to someone that's coherent. And from my personal experience, alcohol can't even be relied on for attaining that state. Personally, whenever I'm feeling uneasy or self-conscious, alcohol just amplifies that existing emotion. The truth is that if you're suffering from lack of confidence, you need 100% of your mind power to find real ways to cultivate it. In the long run, alcohol only hinders those efforts and keeps you looking for confidence in the wrong place. Another belief: drinking wine is good for health. The actual truth? Maybe, but drinking alcohol isn't. Wine does contain antioxidants, and some other alcohols do as well. But if your body's health is really the priority, you can get just as much, if not probably way more nutrients from grape juice, green tea, or just about any fruits and vegetables. So don't be deceived. Alcohol is a poison. It kills brain cells, destroys heart muscle, damages the liver. It's a carcinogen associated with increased cancer risk and a lot more. Again, there's a good reason why drinking alcohol leads to a condition called intoxication. Okay, another belief. Alcohol enhances intimacy. The reality? I'm not in high school anymore. Some studies do show that people who overdrink are more likely to contract HIV and other STDs, which may in a way, I guess, prove that alcohol can be an effective sexual lubricant. But do you really want to rely on alcohol for that? Although it may lead to some interesting encounters, it's definitely going to limit the quality of your sexual life, not to mention the type of person you'll be connecting with. In the long run, alcohol is also associated with increased male impotence, decreased sexual drive. Heavy drinkers are more likely to fall asleep before sex, and they're less likely to maintain the quality of relationship where regular intimacy occurs. Another belief: alcohol helps me to sleep better. The reality, multiple studies prove otherwise. The fact is that many studies show alcohol consumption to be one of the leading causes of poor sleep. It takes your body a tremendous amount of energy to digest alcohol, or more accurately, to break it down and eliminate it from your body. So even though you may be able to fall asleep more easily after drinking, your body isn't resting. Alcohol also interferes with the deeper levels of sleep, which are important requirements for mental renewal. And without that, you just won't feel as refreshed when you wake up. Next belief: I enjoy alcohol-induced oblivion. The reality? My escape only feels good because every time I do it, it makes my sober life worse. The mental numbness that comes from drinking, for me, was probably the most dangerous appeal of alcohol. But the fact that I would only feel relaxed after drinking a bottle or two of wine was a clear indication that I needed to find better ways to make my sober life more satisfying. Alcohol may temporarily make life look rosier or feel better, but none of those benefits are going to stick with you. Instead, it just leaves you further down than where you started. And part of you knows this. There's probably been many times, more often than not probably, when you woke up in the morning and realized that not one good feeling from the night before had stuck with you. But once you find ways to achieve a higher mentality with a sober mind, the appeal of alcohol as an escape mechanism dwindles quickly. Okay, this list of misperceptions could go on and on. These were just a few examples that meant something to me. You'll probably have some unique assumptions to look at. Just write them down and question whether they're really true for you, whether they're valid reasons to continue choosing alcohol as part of your life or not. This kind of self-reflection is an important step to convincing your logical mind of what really matters to you. When you're more aware of the reality, and once you've taken a little time to convince yourself of it, it's much easier to start making decisions that lead to what you really want in life, which alcohol is probably not going to be part of. Always remember that whatever you think alcohol might give you, it's much more likely just going to take away or put further out of reach. Alcohol may have been a stepping stone and an interesting experience at some point in your life, like when you were 15, but at this point, it's probably only making impossible what you want your life to be. Okay, we'll move on to step number 2 now, But I just want to remind you that what I'm describing here has been my own personal approach to overcoming alcohol addiction, and I really hope that it's also useful to you. But it should be considered a personal story and not relied on as expert medical guidance, because I am not a doctor. This has been my experience only. Okay, so step number 2. This is the real core of the video, and here it is. The most powerful secret to overcoming alcohol addiction, at least for me, was learning how to get completely comfortable with the feelings of alcohol urges, cravings, and withdrawal. By alcohol withdrawal, I mean everything from the slight urge of wanting to have a drink to the intense physical shakes and mental strain that occur for heavy alcoholics. If you have a problem with drinking, I can safely guess that just about every time you start drinking, that decision arises with the desire to suppress the discomfort of not having a drink. For example, suppose you're out with some friends and they start drinking, or you're at home and your boyfriend, girlfriend, or spouse brings home some beer or a bottle of wine or whatever alcohol. Your conscious mind, you, are fully aware of the drawbacks of drinking at this point, as well as the benefits of not drinking. But when that urge hits, it's uncomfortable. So you start to consider the possibility of having a drink. And once you consider that possibility, it's not hard at all to find any one of 1,000 rationalizations or false reasons why this time will be okay, and then it's all over. And that's just a mild example. You're more likely in the habit of trying to suppress any emotional discomfort that you ever encounter by using alcohol. That's a big appeal. It's an easy escape from the emotional sensations of sober reality. The problem is that by numbing yourself to such feelings, well, emotional ups and downs are part of a full life. Without the ups and downs, you'll find yourself in a constant state of, at best, just okay. And that can evolve into dissatisfaction, malaise, and even depression. You see, when you numb yourself to the emotional lows, you'll inevitably cheat yourself out of the highs. To be fulfilled in this life, you must live on the full emotional pendulum. So to break that pattern of relying on alcohol, what I want you to do from now on, whenever you sense the urge to drink at all, that slight malaise or discomfort or a craving for a drink, your instant reaction should be to just fully embrace, feel, and consciously know that sensation within you. Yes, this is initially very uncomfortable. You're facing a feeling that you've spent a long time suppressing through drinking, but it's time to try something different. This time, just let it be there. Go into that discomfort and just listen to it with your full accepting mental awareness. Does some part of you want to drink right now? Do you feel any cravings at all? If so, close your eyes and just feel that sensation of wanting as clearly as possible. Don't try to change it. Just focus your attention on it and want to be with it. Really get to know that sensation of desire as deeply as possible. In doing this, you're learning to get comfortable with that sensation rather than turning to alcohol to suppress it. So many traditional rehab programs and techniques are focused on reducing cravings as a way to overcome them. Likewise, just about every anti-smoking and anti-addiction medication that the pharmaceutical industry has created tries to do the same, at least the ones I'm aware of. But I found that learning how to embrace and be comfortable with all your inner sensations is a vastly more powerful approach to moving through alcohol withdrawal. Also, since alcohol has the ability to numb strong emotions, there's a good chance that over the years you've learned to cope with stuff like anxiety, anger, sadness, boredom, and all the other, quote, difficult emotions by drinking. But this exercise that I'm talking about, it's an awesome replacement for that tendency. Whenever you find yourself thinking about having a drink due to one of these emotions, try this exercise. Just take a few minutes to turn inwardly, and even if you'll decide to have that drink later, be sure to practice this exercise for at least a few minutes as a practice opportunity. You'll eventually have an incredibly powerful tool for managing cravings, and it will enable you to not rely on drinking to cope with that or any difficult emotion. In fact, I'd suggest that regardless of how you feel, practice this exercise as often as possible with every emotion and mental state that comes along. Do that, and the feelings that once prompted you to drink will become nothing. Okay, I know this whole thing might sound a little bit weird. I realize it may be contradictory to your current way of thinking, but I really encourage you to try it to see how powerful it is. Don't disregard it just because it doesn't seem like it will work. The approach really defies logic. So even if you're in a situation that doesn't seem convenient, perhaps at a restaurant with people around, just go to the bathroom, close the door, close your eyes, and take 5 minutes or so to just mentally observe and embrace that sensation within you. Whether or not you choose to go ahead with the drink, do this first for as long as possible every time. By practicing this every time, you'll make it a mental habit, and you'll eventually have a new default reaction to the emotions that once drove you to drink. Each time you do this, you'll get stronger and the benefits will accumulate. It sounds strange, yes, but it really can be an amazing key to getting beyond alcohol addiction, or just about any other addiction for that matter. Now, some of you might be thinking that by focusing on discomfort like this, that you would actually increase or amplify the discomfort. But the fact is, you eventually actually dissolve it. I've used this same method to also quit smoking, and I've seen a lot of other people do the same. I've found that a person's ability to overcome an addiction, whether it's alcohol or anything else, is in direct proportion to their ability to transform the sensations, urges, and cravings that are driving their addiction. And this technique that I'm describing is an amazingly powerful method of expanding your capacity to do just that. Some people are able to use the cold turkey approach, but really that usually doesn't last for long. And especially if someone doesn't do something like we did in step 1, then they just become a lifelong recovering alcoholic, forever fighting a frustrating civil war in their mind between the part of them that wants to drink and the part that doesn't. That's not how you want to spend your life. Other people might try prescription medication to reduce their cravings, but that just makes you reliant on another substance, which may leave you in the same position once you stop using it. But the method that I'm talking about here, it increases your ability to tolerate cravings no matter how strong they are. And the magic part is that once you get completely comfortable with them, they eventually just disappear. As a result, once you've conditioned yourself to handle uncomfortable emotional sensations like this, cravings, urges, and addictions will never overwhelm you. It quickly becomes easier to stay in control of yourself and choose what you really want. Alright, I could spend a lot of time on this subject, and if you're finding anything helpful here, I'm going to give you some additional resources in a few minutes. But for now, let's move on to the last step, step number 3, which is actually an extension of step number 1. Remember, step number 1 was about making a list of benefits that you, in one way or another, perceive alcohol to be providing. By examining those assumptions, you're hopefully able to see the reality in which alcohol is not actually leading you to what you really want, or at least not in a reliable or lasting way. Now, step number 3 is kind of an ongoing process of instead determining truly effective ways of getting those things you want. Things, circumstances, experiences, or simply new feelings in your life. Whatever you had been seeking through alcohol, take some time to consciously think about what it would take to really get there, and then start taking steps toward that new place. Yes, this will be an ongoing process, but that's what life should be, so don't let it deter you. Because the good news is that when you're going where you want to go, each step feels better and better. It really doesn't take long to get your sober mind into a more comfortable and satisfied state. In fact, after learning the previous step, step number 2, the self-control that you gain will probably already boost your self-esteem in and of itself. Then, as you start taking action toward your desired sober reality, the idea of being intoxicated will totally lose its appeal. I mean, you won't gain any benefit from alcohol. It won't make you feel better at all. So pretty soon, you'll find yourself not really even thinking about it. For example, right now, drinking might make you feel more socially relaxed and at ease around others, at least from your intoxicated perspective. But if social connection is what you want more of in life, you might make a special point of gaining better social skills or putting yourself into more situations, activities, and environments where you interact with people that interest you. If you put your mind to it, you'll figure out what it takes. Your mind is powerful. And as you start to find the kind of relationships and social interactions that fulfill you, ones that are founded on something real rather than the drunk, phony you'll find that alcohol only interferes with that process. Pretty much any experience you want from life, whether it be a more enjoyable and fulfilling job, better relationships, less mental stress, a more adventurous lifestyle, or maybe just to feel free or in control or confident or happy. Whatever it is that personally motivates you, once you start to experience that in your daily life, you'll find that drinking only interferes with getting to, staying in, and enjoying that place. Everyone's different, so I can't tell you what you need to be happy in life, but you know, or part of you knows, or you'll figure it out. Think of how many times you've been drunk. What have you gained from it? What have you lost or missed out on? If you haven't yet, you'll eventually see that the road to the life you desire is not through drinking. That's just false promises and old perceptions about alcohol. And again, part of you knows this already, but the whole you has to know it. So think about it a lot. Always remember, whatever benefits you think alcohol might give you, it's more likely going to take away. So why not stop wasting time and look for a better approach now? Keep reminding yourself so that you don't trade away what you really want in life for an illusion. Whatever it is that you really want, know that it takes a clear mind to get there, and that you'll only be able to enjoy that place fully if you're not mentally preoccupied with alcohol when you do get there. So start by knowing that something better is within reach. No matter how old you are, there's more depth, adventure, magic, success, simple happiness, or whatever you want in life. I just heard from a man in his 70s who said that the last 6 months had been the best of his life because it was the first time in his life that he had been able to be present with his family. So regardless of how much time you've wasted or how much time you have left, know that alcohol is not going to give you any of what you really want during that time in any real way. Use your mind, intuition, or whatever to figure out what is the way to get there, and then start taking some sort of action no matter how small it is. With the awareness that you gained in step 1 and the skills you developed in step 2, and now with these daily steps to get your mind to a better place than alcohol could ever take you, you'll never want to drink again. And that's my secret for quitting alcohol. Okay, I know this is already a long video, but I just want to remind you once more that this was my personal and not professional perspective on what it takes to overcome alcohol addiction, and it's really been a miracle for me. I hope something about it helps you as well. If you're interested in getting some additional insight and tips on what I talked about in step 2, please check out my free audio recording at mc2method.org. That's mc2method.org. If you got anything out of this video here, I think you'll really enjoy that, and you don't need to pay for or sign up for anything. Thank you for watching, and good luck to you.